Hey, welcome to Lick of the Week, where I'm giving you a bunch of musical words that you can string together into musical sentences when you're improvising. I'm gonna show you a famous lick from a lick from a famous solo or song. I'll show you where it lives within a common pentatonic scale shape, and then I'll play it over a few different backing tracks so you can see how to shift it around and change it up to make it your own. This one is coming from the very end of the Stairway to Heaven solo. I've got it written down in frets 5, 6, 7, and 8, but he actually plays it an octave up. These dots are the same as these dots, so instead of being based around the second dot here, you base it around the second dot here. And it's like that part. If you play it exactly like that, it's probably some kind of plagiarism. So we're going to try and, change it so it's not exactly the same. But it is, a very flashy move. You could probably, just sit and repeat it over and over again for even longer. But with this one, I'm a very firm believer of when you're playing this pentatonic box that you want to use your pinky right here. But in this case, it might be better to use your ring finger because that bend that you have to do at the very end is a full step bend, which means we're trying to target the note that is a full step away from one fret to another fret. This is called a half step. So if you do two of those, it's called a full step. So we're really gotta crank that thing up, and it's hard to do with your pinky. So I don't know, in this case, this is one where I definitely would use your third finger for this wider gap in this shape. But other than that, I don't know. It's there's not much to it. It's based around triplets. Triplet, 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 triplet. So it might work better over some backing tracks with like a shuffle, which is like how our blues backing tracks are going to be. But the first one I'm going to do, which is the only backing track I have in the key of C, which is where it's written on the fretboard below you. That's the key of C, or A minor, depending on how you want to think about it. So I'll start with this reggae backing track, which is not going to be very nice for triplets. So I'm going to try and shift it into something that sounds more like eighth notes. And again, that's the point of all this, is we're trying to take these famous licks, but put them in our own words. So without further ado, here we go. So I'm going to play it in the position that it's written in. That's about as fast as it would be like if I were doing the Stairway to Heaven solo. I'm going to scoot up so you can see better. So that's what it sounds like with triplets. But let's try it with something that's more like eighth notes. Oh, that's dotted side. So that's what it sounds like where it's written, but I'm going to go into a different backing track that sounds a little more interesting. This one's going to be a minor blues in E minor. So right now we're playing in C major or A minor. A minor is the relative minor to C major. You can kind of think of it like sharps and flats. This note is A sharp or B flat, depending on the context. This pentatonic scale shape is C major or A minor, depending on the context. So if we're calling it A minor, then we just need to shift it. So, this is the note A. We need to shift it so that this shape has your pointer finger on an E. This is A, A sharp, B, C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E. So if we put our pointer finger on the 12th fret, this would be the key of E minor or G major, depending on the context. our backing track says E minor, so that's why I said E minor. Anyway, so one thing we can do, you know, I've got it written in this part of the pentatonic box, mostly because that's, you know, where he played it. But again, we're trying to put stuff in our own words and kind of use these ideas as like a diving off point. So you could really do this in any spot where there's kind of like this L shape thing. If you shift up to the next set of frets, you could do that there, which is within our little pentatonic. That was the first pentatonic scale shape we learned on this channel. You could shift that up another whole step. And you can like kind of mess around and do ideas with all of that. I mean, even in this box pattern, you could do that anywhere. So you might see me play this in a few different spots. And if you were to try to do a bend at the end, you would just have to make sure that you're bending up to one of those dots. So if I'm, you know, I'm going to go back to where it's written. So in the 5th fret. Right now I'm going up a whole step because that's the first like gray dot on this first string. If I were doing it here, I would have to do another whole step bend. I guess we've run out of room, but yeah, if we were doing it here, I'd actually have to do a bend. I'd have to bend up to that if I'm trying to follow a pentatonic scale. You could use that, I guess it's the 4. I won't get too in the weeds. Anyway, here we go over minor blues in E minor. And this has a shuffle, so I can kind of play it a little more as it's written. I'm losing it. Friendly reminder that I am actually improvising. I don't know if any of this is going to sound cool or not. Hopefully it's kind of cool. All right, let's do one more. This one's in the key of F. We are right now playing in the key of E minor, which is the same as the key of G, depending on the context. So if we wanted to move, let's say now we're, let's say this is the key of G and we want to move to F, we just move from G, our pinky's on G, and then we shift it down G flat to F. So F's is right here, we put our pinky on F, and that would be the key of F, which is also the same as the key of D minor, depending on the context. This is a backing track. You know, it was a song I recorded with a student, but she didn't end up doing anything with it, so I'm stealing it. Sorry, Lilia. That's that. That's short and sweet. Cool. Well, hopefully that gave you some ideas that you can work with. If you have a lick that you've heard in a solo that you like and you want to see me do this, show you where to play it in a scale and how to move it around, just send me a link in one of the comments or something. But other than that, hopefully you got something out of this. I'll see you in the next one. Later.